Hide fight before, but since there's so much in the news every day, at malls, at schools, daycares, everywhere you go, some people are being targeted, especially with guns. Heard today there was a school student stabbed to death. So, since there's so much violence around, we do want everyone to be pretty secure around here. And that's why they are so picky about using your ID badges and making sure everyone has one. If I see you come in, I will hold the door for you, but if you don't swipe, I have to tell you to swipe, because I'm not getting this for it, and I want to make sure everybody else here is safe. And the safety coordinators are all going to get together and find out different areas in this building. If there was a shooter and everyone needed to hide, try to get with each zone so they know where a good hiding place would be. And then Jeff's going to discuss fire extinguisher safety, because we have to have that annually here also.
Just another day at the office. But occasionally, life feels more like an action than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. Signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safe. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight, act with aggression, improvise weapons, disarm it, and commit to take the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
All right. Questions? Anybody seen this before? Several? Yeah. And it always happens to someone else, right? That's what all the students at Columbine thought.
Can you raise the lights a little bit?
Sure. Sorry. I thought that was here for Mike. Sandy Hook Elementary, the shopping mall in Kenya. Okay. DOT facilities right here in North Carolina. It's happened in the past. That one was more domestic, but still the same principle. Okay. Some of you may be aware, we have had Garner PD come in and do a security assessment of the building. They've given us some suggestions that we're working on. And at some point in the future, we have to partner with them, get them in here and do a drill on run, hide, fight. So we drill for fire, we drill for tornadoes, and we'll drill for that as well. So, any questions on that? All right. The second part of our meeting is on portable fire extinguishers. All right, there's 4 things that are needed for a fire: oxygen, fuel, heat, and chemical reaction. Okay, that's the fire tetrahedron. You got to have all 4 of those. Okay. And if you can remove any one of them, then you can stop the fire. All right. Generally, what we use are the dry chemical extinguishers, and a lot of times those primarily just take the oxygen away. Okay. There are other types of extinguishers out there, but the most common ones are the red ones you see over there, the ABC. 5 main types of fires. I think there's actually 6 or 7, but these are the 5 main types. A is your wood, paper, linen, anything that's combustible like that, cardboard. B is your liquids and gasoline, things like that. C is your electrical, anything circuit, current, things like that. D is combustible metals, which as far as I know, we don't have any building. And then K is primarily for grease fires in large kitchens, like is some pictures of them. The water in the K-class looks similar, big and silver and heavy. Water basically removes the heat in a wood fire. Okay, you can't use it on electrical, right? Or electricity don't mix. But it's full of water, so it is fairly heavy, all right? Okay, these are some federal OSHA regulations. The employer, when the employer has provided portable fire extinguishers in the workplace, then they must provide an educational program on what they are and how to use them. Okay? And the next one is that you have to have this training on initial employment and annually thereafter. Okay, and I know it's been several years since we've had fire extinguisher training, so we're trying to reincorporate that on a regular basis. And who's responsible? What does it say? The employer. Okay? Not Duke Realty. Not any of our landlords, not facility management, the employer. Now, even though you get trained, you're not required to use it. Okay? There's a big difference there. You have to use your, you have to reason it out and think about it. You know, if there's a fire over there, and 30 feet is an extinguisher, and 10 feet's a door. I'm not going to run here 10 feet from safety and grab a fire extinguisher and run back here. I might, depending on the fire, but generally I'm probably not going to do that. So you also have to keep in mind there's several types of extinguishers, and you have to not just know how to use them and be comfortable using them, but you also have to be able to use them. Okay? This extinguisher right here is a 4-pounder. It's not very heavy. Okay? You see these home kitchens, cars, boats, things like that. Okay? This one right here, it's a 15-pounder. It's pretty heavy. If you've got a physical impairment, not very strong, very slight ability, you know, trying to use one of these, carry it to the site, use it, can be, you know, pretty daunting. So if you're not physically able to use it, don't worry about it. Okay? And this one here is an 8-pounder, so it's a little bit about halfway between these two. It's always a good idea to have a fire extinguisher on hand. We kind of train here, but you know, hopefully part of this you take home with you. If you have cars, boats, homes, you know, having a fire extinguisher here is always a good idea. I know today we've already had 3 or 4 examples of where they have come in. Anybody know Jimmy Hammer? Okay. I know that Jimmy has actually stopped on the side of the road and helped put out motor vehicle fires. So it's always nice to have it. Whenever you're in a fire situation and you need it, you don't have it, you're gonna rue that. You know, you're gonna say, "Wow, I really wish I had one." Here's some more regulations that cover them, whether they're DOT regulations or OSHA regulations. The wall sign, and I think we have great ones in this building, has to be visible from 25 feet. The extinguisher has to be visible from 3 feet. It cannot be blocked. And then there's distances depending on what type of fire you're trying to put out, 50 feet or 75 feet. And then there's several requirements for maintenance. Okay, they have to be inspected annually, serviced annually. They have to be visually inspected monthly. And the employer, once again, is responsible for all of this. So if you do audits, who's done an audit here? Facility audit. Okay. I encourage supervisors to, and I know Milton's real good about it, moving it around with several employees. I encourage you to get your employees involved, just to kind of give them gives them a good idea what to look for, you know, just in the workplace. So if an extinguisher does not meet compliance, Who is OSHA going to cite? The employer. That's the way the law is written. So if you remove a fire extinguisher, or it's not being inspected monthly, it's not being serviced annually, yes, in this building, that may be the responsibility of Duke Realty by our lease agreement, but they're not, the OSHA compliance officer is not going to cite Duke Realty. They don't care what the lease agreement is, they're going to cite the worker. Because all OSHA regulations require the employer to send the employees home safely at the end of the day. So Kevin's the one that gets the ticket. So that's one of the reasons that we include that in our audit form, is if for some reason we're doing an audit and we come across a fire extinguisher and it does not, it has not been inspected monthly, then we need to go ahead and check it, because the employer is responsible. And some of you may remember our previous landlord, Craig Davis, did not inspect the fire extinguishers, and we had to do it anyway. And that's because it truly is our responsibility, whether they do it or not. It doesn't take 2 minutes, okay? Check the wall markings, make sure the hose is pliable, make sure it's not clogged. Check the gauge, make sure it's got the tag. One side of the tag will have the company that serviced it, and it'll be punched out for the year and the month. And the other side has the initials and date, the month that it was checked. Just visually inspect it, make sure it's got its pin, casing looks good. And it's always a good idea, flip them over, shake them up. It's not going to explode. Just make sure that powder just, if it's settled in the bottom, just kind of shake it up a little bit. It's best if you have a rubber mallet and kind of pound it a couple times. I would recommend not using a regular hammer. But this is on Teeple. If you go to W40 or 41, wherever the audit information is, this pictogram is there. So it can help you when you do your audits. When you use a fire extinguisher, we do pass. Okay? Pull the pin, aim it, squeeze it, and sweep it. Okay? And you want to do it at the base of the fire. Okay? You don't want to spray the flames. It's just going to go right through the flames. Remember, you have to get rid of one of those 4 items to stop that fire. And the fuel and the oxygen and the chemical reaction, all of that is happening at the base of the fire. So that's what you need to aim at. Now remember, you're not required to use it, so conditions are dangerous. If there's a smoke buildup, if it has gone past the incipient stage, okay, at the very beginning, if it's already climbing up the walls into the ceiling, get out. Don't want to affect that. Now, if you're home and it's climbing up the walls, you still need to get out, but you're more likely to think twice about maybe getting a fire extinguisher, especially if it's early in the process, because that's your personal property. Okay, so you just have to be smart about it. If you have a grease fire in the kitchen and it's contained at the stovetop and you want to grab your fire extinguisher and put it out, okay, fine. If for some reason you got a grease fire and someone has knocked the pan over and now it's running all over the floor, you probably want to get out of the house. Okay? So just be smart about it. They're great to have. Jim Dunlop was telling me about something that was ruling out, and I forget what kind of meat it was, but it had been, it had sat overnight, you know, in prep liquid, and they had drained it, and all the grease got down in the grill, and just flames are shooting up. I personally had one of those tiki torches out back leak in the fall, catch leaves on fire, and it just started spreading all through the yard. We've all heard about turkey roasters or turkey grease. Put it in and it overflows. So it's always best to have an extinguisher. Here's a real example that Amy's gonna explain.
James Hambright gave these to us today. Last summer, they were on the lake. His son and his friends just got in the boat. We're gonna go skiing. There was a fuel leak. As soon as they cranked it up, it exploded. The fire extinguisher was in a container near the motor, so they just jumped ship. He said it took minutes for it just to get rid of the whole boat to the water line.
All right, questions on fire extinguishers? All right, now we're gonna go outside and shoot them off. Field trip. Someone brought up that they've got one at home, and this size, you can usually get them at Walmart for about $10, so it's really not all that much. And the manufacturer, Kidd, is here in North Carolina, but not all extinguishers have the pull pin. Some of them are actually plastic casing, and those are one and done. So when you squeeze it, it pops a little plastic plug in there, and then you use it, and then you just throw it away. Okay. These with the nice metal casings, you can get them serviced, refilled, use them over and over and over. And every once in a while they'll have to do, do a new gasket or something, but they check all that. So once again, yes.
The gauge is measuring with the pressure or the contents?
The gauge is measuring the pressure. Yeah. So a lot of times, someone was telling me in the last meeting that, I forget who it was. Might have been Mike Steele, I can't remember. That a lot of times the chemical is still good. It's the compressed gas. So a lot of times you can open it, take the chemical out, and replace the gas cylinder and put the chemical back in. The chemical's still good. So this checks the charge. Now some of these have less charge because we've already shot some of them off today. But remember, just pull the pin, aim it at the base of the fire, squeeze it, and then go back and forth. Who wants to use one? Come on, Charles.
Go ahead, Charles. The plotter's on fire.
Just pointed at the ground.
Sun's brutal. Sweet.
Action, look at this. If you've never shot one, now's a good time. There's nothing to it. It's really more just being comfortable with it.
Thanks for the instructions about the sweet. That was cool. That was all talk.
Anybody? Rob?
Sure.
I knew Rob said yes.
This sweet. I appreciate that. We should have lit that leaf up first.
Pull, aim, sweep. Step one, pull pin.
That's good to know. You still had, there was a pressure gauge in there, right? How do you know the volume that's left in there? I was just pulled a pin.
All right, anybody else?
So Jared, you know, you said that was a pressure gauge?
Yeah.
But how do you know the volume of material that's left in the can?
You don't. Once you have started using it, you may as well finish it. Okay? Because it's no good. Because once the seal is broken inside to allow the pressure out, it's going to continuously leak out. So if you're going to use one of these on a fire, use the whole thing. Okay? Because you're going to have to either throw it away if it's disposable or get it serviced.
You don't use all of it, how long you can keep it?
Can. Once you've released the pressure, once you've initially released the pressure, it's going to continuously leak out, and it won't be any good. So once you've used it, just get you another, or service it.
Do you know how much approximately the small ones cost?
$10, $12, Walmart. It's well worth it if your house is on fire. Well, if it's a starting fire.
Yeah, it's a little fine.
All right.
I've got it.
Thank y'all.